You're listening to Sweep the League.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Sweep the League. The Thursday Throwdown edition of Sweep the League is commencing right now. We've got NFL Thursday night, Cowboys and Giants right now in the third quarter, 9:39 left. As of this podcast, Cowboys are up 14-9 over those New York Football Giants. Just an FYI, I can kind of prove. I posted in our Sweep the League group chat that I've got the Giants winning 24-20. I did say I was going to keep it. They were going to keep it close. Right now, pretty damn close, 14-9. Giants are within striking distance, so we'll see how that game goes as we go on throughout the night. I'm going to be joined by Hall of Famer Derek Gervin and also Coach Gio. They're going to be on here in just a little bit, having a little bit of technical difficulties with both of them as far as computer issues go. So they'll be on with me in just a little bit. Hope everybody's doing fine. Shout out to MCS General Contracting. Shout out to La Cocina Taco Truck, Castro and Sons Solar, Specialty Tea. Also shout out to Jeff Garcia over at Locked On Spurs. I was on today's episode talking about Devin Vassell. Be sure to check that out. It's myself and Jeff Garcia. We're going to be talking about that tonight. Also, we're going to get into some NFL talk, NCAA football talk. We'll get Gio's thoughts on the Georgia-Alabama game coming up this weekend. It's going to be a huge, huge game. Also, NIL. We talked about that last night, myself and Derek, or yesterday. I'm sorry, yesterday's show that was previewed again or rebroadcast last night. I'm going to dive more into it because we have another player. USC's Bear Alexander was unhappy with his playing time, so he decides to redshirt. I got a problem with the redshirt now. If you're going to start paying players and all this other stuff, we got to get back into that. We just got a lot to get into tonight, so we're going to start here with the NIL deal that's going on, the whole issue with Sluka from UNLV. Let's get in some college football talk till Derek and Gio get into the show with us here. But again, we're going to talk some NIL. This first segment is going to be brought to you by MCS General Contracting, the absolute best in the business, whether it's driveways, whether it's swimming pools, it doesn't matter what it is. Contact Chris Leha and the boys, MCS General Contracting, proud sponsors of Sweep the League. College football talk, man. All right, as mentioned last night, and even yesterday's show, UNLV quarterback Sluka was basically redshirted. Said he was promised $100K to play for UNLV. He only got paid $3,000. UNLV, and we'll call it the friends of the family, or I'm sorry, friends of the program type stuff. Basically said they didn't have a contract. They didn't have anything to prove that he was guaranteed $100,000, and they just don't know where it came from. So we talked last night, Derek and I, about this, and we had another player come out today who's going to go ahead and redshirt. Before we go on a little bit more, let me bring in the Hall of Famer. He is on with us right now. That is Derek Gervin here. We're going to get Coach Gio here in just a minute, but let's bring him on. Hey, Derek, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, sir. How about you?
I'm doing good, It's a great football Thursday. You can vouch for me, right? I did take the Giants tonight, 24-20.
Yeah, you did. And right, they looking good. I guess maybe they're going to get another field goal.
I hope it's a touchdown at least. Louis Luna's in here from La Cocina Taco Truck. Bear down. We'll get into some more of the NFL talk here. Let's bring in the coach himself if he's ready. Coach Gio as well. We all got everybody. Now we got a full crowd here. Wearing a Hoosier shirt, a sweater.
He's back. He's back in the house.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey,
Hoosier Nation, big game this week.
Hey, Gio. I'm liking the way that cruise ship was looking, my man. I saw that room. I'm going to have to give you some love, my man.
It was a great time. I told Rudy, I think a few days ago, it's the first time I've ever been burnt, Derek. That Caribbean heat ain't no joke.
It's no joke, dude.
Well, as long as you have fun, man, look like you were enjoying yourself. And I joke a lot, but on that, I'm sincere. It looked like you was having fun, man. I'm glad.
It was a great time. Appreciate it, y'all.
Yeah, well, welcome back. First off, you were badly missed by everybody, including Derek and I. So you were badly missed. Hopefully,
I'm pretty sure everybody wanted to talk about the Bears and Caleb Williams. Is
that why you avoided us? Because we were going to give you crap about Caleb Williams?
No. I mean, listen, we all can agree Caleb is not playing good at all right now. There are a lot of different factors to why, but so far not looking good for Caleb Williams.
Gio, you got to pass because Trevor Lawrence and these guys have been so bad, we couldn't even focus on Caleb Williams.
Yeah. I got to get Gio's take on what I told you yesterday on the show about that trade. We'll get to that later on that trade talk, but we're going to talk some college football first here. The NIL deals and, the red shirts. I'm going to bring up what we talked about yesterday, get Gio's takes on that, see how much more we feel affected by all this NIL talk. But before we get into NIL talk and all the red shirting going on, ever since I dethroned Daniel Jones as being the best quarterback in the draft class with Kyler Murray, this guy has been pretty damn good, Gio. I mean, tonight he's 19 of 22, 217 yards.
They just got another field goal, and I just told you they was on the 4-yard line. I told you they got to get another field goal.
We can't control the play calling. We can't control the play calling.
Don't throw Brian Daboll under the bus.
Well, he hasn't thrown a pick since I ripped his ass. So that's a benefit right there. It's bonus.
He can't throw a pick. Gio, how can he throw a pick when his guys are so busy fumbling the ball around like bloopers?
He's playing well right now. He's playing well, but you got to get the ball in the red zone, Rudy.
They get the ball in the red zone. They just can't get it in the end zone.
They can't get it in the end zone.
Hey, Rudy, before we go to college, Gio, I got to give you some credit. We talked about you the other day as far as as far as the Ravens. And I know you and Rudy both didn't think very highly of them. And then you also talked about the Cowboys possibly not even making the playoffs. And if you remember, I laughed. Well, I'm not laughing anymore, man. So I got to give you some credit, my man.
The Cowboys, I don't think I was here for that Saints talk. And then obviously the Ravens. Kudos to the Ravens. They ran the ball a lot. They came in there with a game plan. And by God, did they do that? They ran, I don't know how many rushes they had, but they just literally ran through them. No point intended.
Wasn't it 270 yards?
273 yards.
Dallas is playing much better, though. The Giants are not a particularly great rushing team. No Saquon, obviously. So the receivers are catching a lot of balls, but they're not necessarily going in the, as Rudy says, the touchdown. So
If the Cowboys lose tonight, is this it for Mike Zimmer?
It's it for one of the Mikes. That's for damn sure.
Mike looks lost on the sidelines. I don't know.
It's funny because you said the Cowboys are looking, better tonight. Good. It's the Giants, man. They're not looking good against the Giants. That's
true. Last year, what was the score of that first game? Like 40-0. Like that
first game
earlier in the year.
Season, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then they had Danny DeVito or whatever his name was at quarterback.
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah,
Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito, Danny DeVito. They're all the same.
They're all DeVitos.
But the Giants, I will say that they look better, Rudy. They're playing better football. Does that mean they're going to make the playoffs? I don't know. But as of right now, I think they're a much improved team. And they've been trying to feature Malik Neighbors, and he's been much as advertised, Rudy.
Well, you can't feature Malik Neighbors without a quarterback that can get him the ball. So give some love to that guy.
Oh no, listen, I'm saying Matt Jones actually looks.
Did you say Matt Jones? Are we going really? You're going to mess up the guy's
Matt
name?
Jones,
that bad?
Jason Jones. Listen, he looks good. I'm not gonna lie. He looks. But Rudy, in 3 weeks, he could throw 4 interceptions, and we're back right where we started.
Well, for now, we're gonna praise him right now. We all hail Mac Jones. See, Daniel Jones, you got me talking different.
Hey,
names
speaking
now.
of Mac Jones, Rudy, I don't need to talk about what happened that day on Saturday, but your coach, is he still employed?
I have no idea.
Because there was a report.
Well, you know what?
That said he left.
He's staying till the end of the year. Put it that way. And you're talking about Mac Brown.
It was so weird. He had this cryptic talking about we're a Power 5 school. We shouldn't be, or Power 4. We shouldn't be losing. That's the mentality that got you that loss in the first place. And kudos to James Madison, Rudy, because what they did, and Derek, I'm sure you saw the score, was an absolute clinic. And not to boast or anything, but Indiana's head coach, Kurt Cignetti, was at James Madison last season, and they were a really good football team. So he left that team with some pretty good talent. That's all I'm going to say on that.
North Carolina made it at least interest. They made it respectable. I'll say the final score 70-50. I mean, they were getting the brakes beat off of them. They did at least cut it to 70-50.
I give them that, Derek.
As we move on to the next subject, because we don't want to talk about North Carolina and James Madison. We can't talk about old news like that. That's terrible. Even though it was predicted, because when I saw the James Madison was on the schedule, I figured, oh, my elementary school, James Madison Elementary over on St. Cloud in Bandera. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a loss. That's a loss right there. Now, I mean, get into some NIL. So, Gio, Derek and I talked yesterday. Yeah, obviously, Sluka from UNLV said, Laters, I'm going to redshirt. Promised all this money. I'm not getting my money. Yada, 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 yada. Well, come to find out, Bear Alexander, defensive tackle for USC, decides to redshirt. Has nothing to do with money as far as we know. It's playing time. He's not satisfied with his playing time. So, the Sluka thing, Derek and I were talking, it's going to have to come down to contracts. So you're going to start to see colleges get GMs, general managers in college, because they're going to have to work with all these NIL deals. But what I told Derek was you have to get rid of the red shirt year, period. There's got to be a middle point. If you're not happy, you're going to just red shirt and screw your team over. This and or you know what? Just I can go anywhere. You already can transfer anywhere, but I'm a big believer now because of NIL. They've got to eliminate the red shirt. Period. It puts a lot of schools on a crutch. So I think the red shirt has to be gone.
That's a tough spot, Rudy, because I looked up on that situation and look. Is it in ink, Rudy, that he was supposed to get, what was it, $100,000?
No,
I don't know.
Was not.
Was it promise?
It was verbal. Verbal.
So if it was verbal, that's a tough stretch there, because obviously if you go to court, Rudy, they don't care about a verbal agreement, right? So he did what he, I guess, needed to do. The red shirt is there, Rudy, and you can do it, which I find odd after 4 games.
But you can't play 3. It's 3 is the minimum.
Okay, yeah. I mean the 3.
Max.
So I guess he's up to that point. So he just decides to leave.
Yeah.
This is where we're going towards. This is an unprecedented waters. Things are happening that we've never seen before in college football, and I think also for coaches, they're seeing things as well they've never seen. So this is new to all of us, right? I mean, we don't see things like this. The days of Nick Saban and top recruiting classes and people staying 2 to 3 years. I mean, Bear Alexander, Rudy, I'm not sure if you're aware, but he started off at Georgia. He was part of that national championship team, I believe, against TCU. And he was a freshman who started, played very well. And the next thing you know, he goes to USC, which I think was because of money, I assume. And then now he pulls this thing, which, listen, he should be he should really be a really good player. He has the size. He's a big boy. Should have the size. But if he's not getting playing time, maybe he doesn't have anyone to blame.
He's playing, Gio. He's playing. He's just not. He thinks he should be playing more. Lincoln Riley commented on it. The guy is playing. He just thinks he deserves more time. Maybe because he left TCU and he thinks because he goes out to USC, they're going to do favors for him. But he is playing. I mean, but usually if you want more playing time, you have to do a little better, work a little harder in practice, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
And from what I saw, USC was getting not very good up front. And I did call it, Rudy. I said USC with the upset. I mean, Michigan with the upset last week, Derek. So I was looking out for you, Derek. I picked the Wolverines.
Well, I don't like USC either, Gio. I think they are they're one of those overrated teams. We talked earlier in the year. I'm not sold on Lincoln Riley. I never have been.
Well, his defense, his defense has been pretty poorly. I thought yes, they give up a lot of runs, but I thought they played well, Rudy, on defense to a certain extent. Obviously, those two big runs really kind of spread the game over. But I thought USC took the punches. They handled it okay. They obviously lost. But I don't think it's going to be the last time we hear from USC. I think we may hear them down the line. But, yeah, it's different waters right now for NIL.
It's really different. And, the one thing I'm going to re-mention to you guys is the fact that now that you're seeing red shirt guys, basically, guys, I'm going to take a red shirt year. I'm going to say, screw this. No hard feelings or whatever. I'm gone. This NIL thing is going to turn into contracts, written contracts. You're going to have to sign it. And what I was mentioning yesterday was the fact of, okay, you have a written contract. These schools are going to be like, you've got to be with us at least 3 years. At least 3 years. You're not going to be able to go pro, or you can get penalized or this and that. So it's so murky, the waters, that now for the second straight day, we're seeing another guy, pull the red shirt flag. I'm going to red shirt this season. I'll see what happens at the end of the year. I'm probably going to transfer to another school, and it's just not a good look, Derek. And it's something that you've commented and you've posted a couple of times, that sports these days is not, it's about what I can do for myself. I'm looking out for myself.
Right.
And it starts in the pros. We're seeing it all the way down to the high school levels, man. It's so bad right now.
You have 1 week where you feel the coach is not treating you justly like you think you should be treated. So you transfer or you sit out. So they're going to have to come up with something. And contracts will probably be the answer. But some of these guys, will they do that? Because it's like then you do that again. It's kind of like we're going backwards. Yeah. There are some good parts of the NIL. There's some good things. But, yeah, it has been right now you're seeing a lot of players. That's me. And it's not about the team anymore. It seems like we're getting away from what the game was intended to be, that you play for the team instead of playing for yourself. So, yeah, they're going to have to come up with something, and they're going to have to do it quickly, because after Sluka and then this young man from USC, you know how it goes. You see one or two guys doing it, and then someone's going to be doing it again this coming week.
That's the problem there. Is monkey see, monkey do. There's going to be someone's going to be doing it, and then down the line, and every year we find another strange story. But look, if they promised him $100K, it's a different time. They're 3-0, right, Rudy? I think they're off to their best start in a long time. They beat Kansas. Yeah. Whatever you think of Kansas right now, they were a ranked team at the time, and they went on the road and beat them, I believe. So the team was kind of coming of age, and it's a bit unfortunate. But
damn.
Yeah, Tim wants to know if next month Sweep the League should have a Derek Gervin Hall of Fame holiday, which means no show on a Friday to celebrate Detroit and USA great Derek Gervin. Yeah, we'll have a holiday show.
I want to do the show on Friday though. I'm getting antsy, man. So every time I can do the show, it kind of makes my nerves a little better, eases my nerves.
Yeah, we'll definitely do something, because the Hall of Fame ceremony is coming up here on October 18th, 19th. Well, actually, the 19th is the Hall of Fame dinner, I believe. So be sure to go out to the UTSA game that day. Some special treatments for the Hall of Famers is going to be out there. But it's Hall of Fame weekend starting the 18th of October for Derek Gervin celebrating his Hall of Fame entrance into UTSA Hall of Fame.
I got some more good news, but I have to save that for a little while.
Okay. No worries. We will save that. We will save that.
More good news that I'm happy about.
We'll let you make that announcement whenever you're allowed to. We'll let you make that announcement. So Tim is in here. Pizza night at Native Grill. So yeah, I've never been to Native Grill. I need to try that.
Tim's been there for a few hours now, because I saw earlier that he went with his family. So they hanging out, man. It must be some pretty good food over there, Tim.
So I've heard. I've heard they've got some really good food out there. I've got to try that here. Get into some quick college football. Before we take our first commercial break, let's get into some quick college football this weekend. Obviously, tomorrow you've got Miami, Virginia Tech. The first big game that comes up is number 20, Oklahoma State, 23, Kansas State. That's probably going to – I kind of go more lean towards Oklahoma State in that game right there. You've got Louisville 15, Notre Dame 16. You got a lot of great games this weekend. Number 19, Illinois against Penn State. I think Penn State's on upset watch right there. I like Illinois going into there. I'm just running through a few of these games here. I'll get you guys' takes on a couple of these games here. Utah, Arizona, that's a game that, again, you're looking at. Arizona had a lot coming in to the Big 12, so that could be a game where Utah maybe fumbles. I don't think they do. But that's definitely a game that they might be able to fumble. And, of course, you've got the game of games, Georgia against Alabama.
Woo!
Oh, man.
Go Dogs, baby.
It's going to be a fantastic weekend. Ohio State going to Michigan State. Now, I've clearly said Ohio State is the fraud in the top 5. This is where it starts. Their season starts this weekend as they go into East Lansing and play those Michigan State Spartans. So, we'll see how good Ohio State is this weekend. Run around. We're going around the rim here, the horn. Whoever wants to start first, be my guest. What game are you looking forward to? Not Georgia, Alabama, please, because we're going to talk about that one. But if you got another game to talk about first, give me that one first. We're going to get to Georgia, Bama.
Yeah, for me, it's Utah, Arizona, because I had high hopes for Arizona. I still think they're a pretty good team. I don't think they're as good as last year. But I think very highly of Utah. And if you remember when we were making our picks, I like Miami, and I also like Utah. And this is the game for me that is going to prove. I think if Utah wins this game and they win convincingly, I don't see them losing. I told you I could see them maximum losing one game. Yeah. So that one game, this is the one I'm kind of nervous about going against Arizona. But for me, that's the game. And I think Utah is going to win that game convincingly.
Well, I live in Big Ten country. Interested to watch that Illinois-Penn State. Really, we've talked about Penn State, really, as well as Derek. Every now and then they lose to somebody they're not supposed to lose, right? And Illinois, big win last week. Reed actually caught some of that game against Nebraska. I believe it went to overtime. Two Big Ten foes. It's going to be a battle of wills. I give Illinois a good shot to go in there and win. It's going to be a tough environment. But Brett Bielema's got this program back in Illinois, and Penn State, I don't know, Rudy. They might make the playoffs just because of their schedule. But I just
so bad.
Go look at Franklin's record, Rudy, against winning teams. It's really bad.
Yeah, I know it's really bad. I did look it up earlier. So, and that Illinois game, I'm circling Illinois, man. They've been playing
pretty good, didn't they, Rudy?
God. Yeah, they've been looking.
I thought they looked pretty good
all year. Yeah. They're not looking Indiana Hoosier good or as good as Gio in that Hoosier sweater.
Hey, I'm making the trip to Bloomington to watch Indiana versus Maryland this week, so it's gonna be a packed crowd. We are expecting rain, so. You know how those rain games go already. Anything's possible. So we'll see how that offense could potentially slow down. Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
Who's better, Indiana right now? Indiana or would you say, are they even in the same ballpark with Tennessee?
Well, look, Tennessee plays in the SEC. I think they're far ahead right now, Derek, simply because of that defensive line at Tennessee it's going to be a problem. I think the quarterback, though, Rudy, it's a freshman quarterback, works really good at Indiana. He's thrown no interceptions. He's been phenomenal all year. So I think the quarterback, I think the team overall is got to be Tennessee, Derek, just because of the athletes they have and that defensive line and the receivers, running backs. But Indiana, I mean, they're playing at a high level, big game against Maryland, and then they go on the road, tricky game next week at Northwestern. So we'll see what this team looks like in a few weeks. But man, that Michigan game, I'm trying to make that game just for you, Derek. But I might not be able to make it. But I'm gonna try my hardest.
I'm nervous already. I like Indiana. I think when you talked about them at the beginning, I didn't really take it serious, but after looking at them over a few, no, really, I didn't. But after looking at them over a few weeks, I think they're a better team than they're being given credit for. And I think they're going to continue to surprise people over the course of the year. I don't think they're a bad team at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a big hire for them. Kurt Cignetti, wherever he's been, wherever program he's in, he's won. Sure, they've been at small schools, but look what James Madison just did last week to North Carolina.
Stop it.
I'm sorry to keep bringing him up, Rudy, but he was there last year, and unfortunately, you gave up 70 points in a football game. But anyway, Kurt Cignetti, big shout out to them, but they are on upset. Maryland is a sneaky team. Mike Locksley always has those teams ready to go. It's going to be a physical brand, and I can't wait for Saturday.
Any opportunity, any chance? And before we move on to some more college talk,
give North Carolina some credit though. They held James Madison to 17
under 100. They held him under 100. I'll give him.
This is the second half. They held him 17.
This is unbecoming of you. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, blame the school. Blame Mac Brown. Blame everybody else but me.
What's the record? Do you guys know what's the record for one half?
Oh God, I don't know offhand.
I was starting to have to look it up when they started talking about.
I know 50. There was a game back in the day. Didn't somebody score like over 100 points, Rudy?
In a half?
Not in a half.
Like one of those old games, like back in the 20s.
I don't know. I mean, more than likely. I don't know. I can do the research for everybody out there in a minute, but before we move on to the big game, obviously Georgia-Bama. I just want to throw this question out there because. As much as Gio's talked about Indiana, and Derek and I, we it's not like we laughed about Indiana being good. We just figured that, Indiana was here and the rest of the Big Ten was here. Not the rest of them, but the power teams in the Big Ten were a little further and superior than Indiana. But can we really say that with the way Indiana's been playing, can they legitimately be the second, if not the best team in the Big Ten? And I again, we haven't seen Ohio State be tested yet. We've seen Michigan already, lay the egg against Texas, who's #1 team, but we still haven't seen a really dominant Michigan team. Penn State, we really don't even know about Penn State. We won't know about them till this weekend.
You know about Penn State. That's Notre Dame. That's Notre Dame's brother or sister. So.
He's heard it here first.
Any given week, we know what can happen.
I think it's too early to tell. Listen, Ohio State, they're athletes. Rudy, I think right now, I love Indiana.
Third?
I'm going to that game. They're probably fourth on that list. Simply because they got so many new players. They haven't really hit adversity yet either. The first games are always kind of weird. They didn't play great off the bat against FIU, but Curtis Rourke's been phenomenal. But I just think it's too early. And I go on Twitter, I see all this Indiana stuff. Say, man, just give us more time, man. I don't want to have the wagon here first where we haven't even, put on the food in there, right? So let's just bring just a little bit down. I don't want people to go crazy, but obviously I've been hyping them up. I just want to – they got some tough games, and we're going to learn a lot because now, really, it's conference play, right? So this is where we learn. We're going to learn if Penn State's for real, Derek. Which most likely Penn State being in there, and we're going to see Georgia and Alabama, which is going to be a phenomenal game.
So – Why neither one of you guys mentioned Oregon?
Oh yeah, no, I forgot about that team. They played good last week already.
They did. They finally looked good last week.
They took care of their sister or whatever, stepbrother, whatever you want to call that rivalry there in Oregon State. Though, you know what? It was the first time they won there in a while. So apparently it was actually a pretty tough team. But no, I think Oregon's right there. They got the speed. Something's off, though. I don't know. They didn't look great the first few games. They barely beat Idaho or somebody, right?
Hey, they were my pick to win the Big Ten, though.
And I still think they're going to win.
I don't believe in Ohio State.
I won't. I don't have Oregon winning the Big Ten.
You don't, Rudy?
No. Even though I call them a fraud, I still have Ohio State won. I mean,
Even though you said they're trending upward, Oregon?
Oregon's trending upward, but I don't think they win the Big Ten. I don't think so. They looked good in 1 week. That's really all I can say. Now, against UCLA, I'm fully expecting them to look good again against UCLA, but I don't. When it comes to, the bigger teams in the Big Ten, I just can't see Oregon beating an Ohio State or anybody like that. I don't have them winning the Big Ten at all.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them because we saw what happened to USC, right? You get to those games, and Rudy, it's going to be raining. It's going to be raining on Saturday here, right? Especially Big Ten. It's not going to be great weather. And I'm not saying that obviously in Oregon it does rain, right? They live in the Pacific Northwest, but it's a different brand. And you saw USC struggle. Right? It's just round and pound. You're going to have those teams who also air it out as well. But yeah, Oregon, maybe not yet, but they're still up there. They have the talent. They got the speed. They got athletes all over the place. And man, they got some cool jerseys too.
Yeah, they do. Tim's just posted a weekend special over at Native
Rudy.
What's that?
Send that address so Tim can FedEx these wings and this 14-inch pizza.
I think he's challenging me back when I was a big fat Rudy because I could definitely eat that meal. That ain't a problem.
15 pieces of hot wings and 14-inch pizza.
That is not a problem back in the day. I could easily. That's like a lunch for me probably right there from back in the day. So, I can get the address for you in a little bit. But, the one game before we move on to Georgia, Bama, the one game I have circled, I actually have Boise State losing this weekend to Washington State.
So do I.
Yeah, I think this is that game where we see Boise.
Aren't they underdogs by 7 points, something like that?
Boise's favored by 7.
They're favored by 7?
Yeah, Boise's favored by 7.5.
I had Boise losing that game.
Yeah, I don't like that game for Boise. I've actually got Washington State winning that game.
So it's going to be the battle of obviously running game versus a passing game.
Yeah,
and obviously they got the stud there at running back and is Ashton Genty. I mean, Rudy, he's good, Rudy. He's phenomenal, and they're going to feature him. It's going to be a battle of two different offenses and defenses. Who's going to step up? I might give the edge to Boise here, but
haven't they beaten Boise like 5 out of the last 6 games or something, Rudy?
Nah, it's some crazy number like that.
I think they beat them but I know that has nothing to do with this coming weekend. But I think they've beaten Boise. Yeah, I like Boise. I like the color of their field better than I like the team this year. So I'm picking them to go down.
Yeah. Washington State can sling it. They are going to put up points, and obviously they're going to have to control the clock. So, Rudy.
Gio, I'm sorry. Did you watch the or who did Oklahoma State play this past week? You remember, Rudy? Let me see, because I expected it to
play
be
Utah.
Yeah, because I expected it to be a high-scoring game.
Man, Ollie Gordon, they're running back Gordon. The team just didn't play well. And Utah, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter what quarterback's back there, whether it's the 10-year senior or it's the brother, actually, Rudy, of former Jets quarterback. What's his name again? Wilson?
I know.
Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson's brother.
Yeah, that's actually Zach Wilson's brother, which is ironic because Zach went to BYU and his brother's at Utah. But it doesn't matter what quarterback Utah puts back there. They're going to play well. And they took care of business. I'm surprised Oregon State just did not. I mean, Oklahoma State didn't look good.
No, they did not, man. We're going to go on to the big game, man. Georgia Bama.
They haven't looked good since Gundy was 40.
We're going to go to Georgia and Bama. So, I remember I said, actually I said this past week and talking to a friend of mine, I said, actually it was my boss actually talking about it. I said, yeah, this is the big game of the week. You got Georgia, you got Bama. He asked me who I'm taking, and I said reluctantly, I'm leaning towards Bama right now, but that could change very well. And why can it change? Because weather's going to play a factor. I mean, you've got the hurricane coming in. I know they're going to get some rain down there. I don't know how it's going to affect it, but looking at it on paper, I I kind of like Bama just right now. My gut tells me Bama. It could change over the weekend before the game gets here. But I just go back to that Kentucky game, Gio. I mean, I know it was a battle for Georgia, and they had a week off. You know, they're coming into this week. It's just, I don't know, man. Is there something you can tell me to give me that slight edge to give to Georgia heading down to Tuscaloosa at Bryant-Denny Stadium? Because right now, I'm feeling Georgia's win streak's going to snap against Bama.
Well, look, Georgia's won. I don't know what the record. How many SEC games they've won in a row? I mean, conference games were just like 40.
Yeah, it's like 43, isn't it? Something like that.
Some crazy number.
2021 or 20. They haven't lost something like 2021 or something crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a phenomenal streak, and look, it's a tough matchup. I mean, they're playing a team that I respect Alabama. They got a lot of athletes. The rain could play a factor. This could be if it does rain, Rudy could slightly favor Georgia and their style of play, at least this season. Georgia's going to want to run the ball with Brian Robinson and Etienne, the brother of Travis Etienne, the one from the Jags. But, man, Georgia's getting some guys back this week. Listen, that Kentucky game, I know a lot of people laughed and said, it's just Kentucky. Kentucky has a very good defense, a lot of athletes, a lot of guys from the portal as well. And Kentucky also plays tough. And, Rudy, they got out of there just alive. I mean, just barely. I mean,
people don't realize that Kentucky's been relevant for a few years. They may not have made a whole lot of noise, but for the past few years, Kentucky's been a tough out. They've been relevant in college football
for several years, and it's one of those things where, sure, it's just a random SEC team, but we saw what South Carolina did to LSU. We saw what Arkansas just did to Auburn. Rudy, Vanderbilt had Missouri on the ropes, and I know I've laughed about Vanderbilt a lot, but I want to give Vanderbilt a lot of credit. Rudy, they've played some tough teams. They beat Virginia Tech. They've had some close ones, and Missouri's a good team. But, man, I'm going to pick Georgia, but I'm going to say this. Georgia has to come out with an edge, because what I saw against Kentucky was flat. It was essentially saying, hey, we're Georgia. We're going to just show up. And, obviously, you got to give Kentucky a lot of credit, too. But, geez, it was not a good look. But I'm going with the Dogs, and it's going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a lot of people drinking there, Derek. So – it's gonna be a tough environment. So
you guys, you're saying your team's gonna get out. You know they're gonna have to score in the first half. They've scored 3 touchdowns in the first half, and 2 of those are against Tennessee Tech. So can they shut down Jalen Mills? Can they shut Milrose down and produce offense? That's gonna be the key.
You know, the offensive play calling. I don't want to criticize Mike Bobo, which I'm not a fan of. He was here during Mark Richt era, and it was not very good either. So I didn't love some of the play calling. Get the ball down the field. You have these receivers and you have these athletes. Get the ball down the field, attack, don't be scared. And I felt a lot of hesitation against Kentucky, but obviously Kentucky was playing good defense. But Georgia, I believe they can, Derek. But if you only score, did Georgia score 13 points, Rudy, or something like that? You're not 13. Beating Alabama score. This isn't 2010. You're not beating Alabama like that. Alabama will eventually score. So they got to step up, because this is a tough game. And you got Texas coming down real quick in just a few weeks. So
Saban will be smiling on the sideline. Hey, that's a tough game, man. Hey, Rudy, you remember early in the year, you and I talked about we didn't like Georgia very much. Yeah. And Gio, likes them, and they still undefeated. But something tells me Alabama's going to end up running over them, man. I don't think it's going to be a 30-point loss, but I think Alabama's going to be physically stronger than them. I think they're going to be quicker at most of the important positions. I'm not in love with Alabama either, but I think they're going to make a statement against Georgia, and I think it's time for Georgia to suffer their first loss in quite a while, and I'm taking Alabama to win that game by at least 10 points.
Yeah, and that's with me. I'm so back and forth on the game that it's I'm like, well, right now I'm going towards Bama. I do like Bama right now. It could change probably tomorrow. It could go either way for me because you got Bama, you got Georgia that still has to play Texas. They got to go to Austin to play Texas. They still got to go to Ole Miss. They still got to play Tennessee. They've got a very brutal schedule, Georgia. So that's why I had mentioned that you're probably possibly can see a 2-loss Georgia team.
Are either of these teams going to finish with 1 loss or less? Because if you look at Alabama's schedule, Alabama really has to win this game. I think if they lose this game, they're in for a rude awakening the rest of the season. When you look at their schedule, and I watched Paul Feinbaum and these guys kind of go over the schedule yesterday. And when he started showing the schedule, some of these teams that Alabama's going to have to face, we're looking at it. They lose to Georgia. We're looking at Alabama possibly losing 3, maybe even 4 games before the season's over. So this game is basically make or break, in my mind, more so for Alabama than it is for Georgia.
I mean, you still got Bama going. They got to play LSU. They got to play Missouri and Tennessee, Oklahoma at the end of the year. They end the year in the Iron Bowl with Auburn. But you can't overlook a South Carolina team who
South Carolina can
play big time ball in big games.
Defensive front, they beat up Kentucky, and I thought Georgia would do the same, but they beat up Kentucky pretty badly. That was not even a fun game to watch. But hey, don't forget about Vanderbilt, guys. That team took Mizzou to what, 2 overtimes already, I believe, something like that. So. You never know in these weird games in the SEC or even the Big Ten.
Who do you two guys have now moving up to replace Texas State and Memphis as a surprise team?
I mean, Liberty would probably be the first option. Liberty, honestly, if we're going into teams that you're going to probably put in that 11, 12 range, BYU, maybe one. Liberty, well, no, because Indiana's one. I would say Indiana does get in. I think they will get in. Probably BYU. I think Boise State, again, they probably lose this week, which kind of kills a lot of their chances of getting in. Outside of that, Derek, man,
Colorado.
we're talking.
Colorado?
No, definitely not Colorado.
That would be Rudy's worst nightmare if Colorado got in.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Colorado, that was a big-time play that Shador made, Derek. You got to give him up. That was...
At the end of the game.
That was he actually made a pass before that. The guy dropped.
Yeah.
But Shador, sure, for his trash talking his dad, all that stuff, that was a big-time play he made. Yeah, I got to admit.
I saw the same play with Doug Flutie. I'm not excited. Doug Flutie wasn't, all NFL.
He threw it where nobody else could catch it. and to throw it on the run like that, that was a pressure-packed throw. And, I mean, he couldn't have put it in a better place.
We'll see. I'm not going to dog the guy. I mean, I know how I feel about Shedeur Sanders and coming into the NFL and all that. I'm not going to dog him. It was a great throw. I mean, it was a great throw. A throw that not many people can make, so I give him credit for that.
And Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter is the reason why Colorado is Colorado. I mean, that's it. The guy's playing both sides of the ball. He's making plays on both sides of the ball.
Travis is just he's special. And I'm not even. He should. If someone picked him number 1, would you fight him?
Nope.
As a number 1 pick overall.
Yeah.
No.
Here goes the thing. Do you want to deal with the attitude, though, man? Because he kind of reminds me of C.D. Lamb. One of those guys, if he doesn't get the ball every play.
We saw C.D. last week, and we saw what he's doing today. He has like a ton of catches.
It's the Giants, but I'm just saying.
He said it.
I'm saying, is he worth the gamble? Because at some point, it's an NFL guy that actually called him out yesterday or the day before. And he wasn't anything negative. He was just saying that CD, they're going to have to decide, is he going to play both sides of the ball? Or is he just, what position, is he going to be offense or defense? in the NFL, can he play on both sides of the ball?
No. There's no way he can play both sides of the ball.
No, I wouldn't put him through that.
It legitimately comes down to who drafts them. Because if okay, I guess let's take it here. If the New York Giants drafted Travis Hunter, honestly, I would put him on the defensive side of the ball. That's what I would do, probably that. And then you could run him on,
Cause that fumble, really.
Yeah, I mean, you can run him on the offensive side here and there. That's not a problem. I'm not mad about that. But I would almost like to see Travis Hunter play cornerback in the NFL. That's just me. There's something about playing both sides of the ball, opposite positions, receiver, cornerback. I just feel like he could be a more dominant player on the defensive side of the ball. But he's still spotting, use him in spots here and there for, at wide receiver. So
yeah,
it just depends. But I mean, if he goes to a team like Carolina, I mean, you need an offensive weapon there. So, there you go. You have J.C. Horn in Carolina. So you're okay at a corner area, but he would be more beneficial on the offensive side of the ball if he went to Carolina. That's just my
What about that fumble he called that caused that goal line to end the game?
But Derek, those are the type of plays you want your stars to make, and he's been phenomenal. Listen, he went to a different type of school, right? Coming out of college, people were surprised, and he balled out there. Now he's balling out at Colorado. I don't think Colorado makes the playoff. I mean, they would have to go on a hell of a run.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
But a big game this week against UCF and Gus Malzahn. It's going to be interesting to see that. I think UCF's a better team overall, but who knows what happens, because you got Shador, you got Travis. You got a shot every game, Derek. Every time they put on those helmets, they got a shot. Unless, obviously, they're playing any of the big-time schools like Texas.
Don't you think their defense is still a little suspect? I know the defensive line played a little better. They played better last week, but
it's getting better.
Yeah, I look at all those guys over there, Warren Sapp over there smiling and all that stuff. I'm just interested to see if he'll be smiling in a few weeks.
Listen, Warren's great. I think he was obviously a Hall of Fame, but those kids don't have any of his stuff. So you're out there teaching, and you hope they obviously, but they're playing better. And maybe as the season gets along, Derek, maybe this team looks very different at the end of the season. I do think, though, they're going to make a bowl game. I know we were all kind of saying I thought they would make a bowl game. I know Rudy said they would probably win 3 or 4 games.
I didn't say 3 or 4. I said 5.
I don't know. You might have to check the tape on that.
Check the tape on that. I did not say 3 games.
He said 5 or 6.
I know he said something like that, though, Derek. I know he did. Yes, he did. We're going to pull up the tape. He definitely said
4. Oh my God!
I swear, I know.
Rudy, you might have said. I'm trying to think back if you said that one time.
If I said that, it was big time jokingly that I said 3 or 4. I did not expect 3 or 4 games. I said 5.
Hey, Gio, I believe you, because I think one time we were talking and I'm serious. I think you did say that one time, Rudy. You might only said it once, but. That kind of does sound right. Maybe 3 or 4 wins. Yeah,
he said 3 or 4 wins.
I'm pulling up the schedule here so I can see.
And Rudy said that we're not going to beat Colorado State. I know he said that.
Yeah, I did say that. They wouldn't beat Colorado State, and they barely.
Hey,
beat
Rudy.
Baylor.
So why are you looking it up? Be honest. Do you has Shador? Do you see his stock rising?
No.
I've been seeing people talking about him second round, first round, and you still think he's a 5th or 6th round guy?
Yeah, I'm lenient, and I'll say 5th round right now, 5th and 6th round.
What do you think, Gio?
I told you 6th or 7th and undraftable last year.
I think he's raised his stock, especially with that. He was already. I think he's gotten a little better, man. He's a little more comfortable in the pocket. He's not holding the ball as long as he was last season. His accuracy is looking pretty good. I think some teams will take a gamble on him.
No,
you have to, but it's a matter of where do you gamble on Shedeur Sanders? What round?
It matters where you go.
Yeah, Bryce Young is. I mean, man, look right now. You got Deshaun Watson. You got Bryce Young. I mean, you got guys like that. You got Sam Darnold leading the Vikings to 3-0. So I think if you look at these, are not marquee players. We're talking about Deshaun Watson, all these guys. So I don't think Shedeur is any worse than the way some of these guys are playing. And I think some coaches are willing to take a gamble on him. I won't say first round, but I could see him going right now, second or third round.
He's number one on ESPN's big board for quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders, Carson Beck, and then Quinn Ewers are the top 3 quarterbacks for next year, for the draft coming up here in 2025. But I mean, it goes back to the Caleb Williams thing. I mean, I'm not calling Caleb Williams terrible. Now, so in all fairness and being truthful, 100% truthful, I felt Caleb Williams wasn't going to be worth the first pick in the draft. And I still don't. But he's the type of quarterback who can come in, he can make plays, he can get your team down the field. But when he gets rattled, he gets rattled. And it's been shown a lot in the NFL. He's making bad throws. He's missing his receivers. When the defense when the line collapses, the defense gets to him, it rattles him. He panics. So I get it. It's year one. I'll give Caleb another year, see how he does. But I don't think he was worth the first pick in the draft. I've seen more out of Jaden Daniels. I've seen more out of Bo Nix. I mean, you see a lot more out of these guys. The more established guys, I think.
You're still talking about Bo, huh?
I'm not. Bo knows Bo.
Wait, so this is what I want to say about that. I've talked to some Bears fans. They're not very happy with Shane Waldron as the offensive coordinator. I saw the Colts game. Dude, now I know why Seahawks fans wanted him gone. It was terrible. He had the ball in the red zone. By the way, several times in the red zone, he ran a trick play in the red zone. It was just whatever you think about Cliff as the OC with the Commanders, I know he can call plays, though. He can dial them up. He can scheme it. And Kyler had his best years with Cliff. And we already know about Sean Payton and what he can do with an offense. I first of all, Rudy, you already know how I feel about defensive head coaches because whatever his name is, Eberflus, whatever, that's not going to work. You need an offensive. Dan Quinn? But Rudy, he paired himself with a really good offensive coordinator.
Dan Quinn Shanahan, Dan Quinn Kingsbury. Dan Quinn knows what to do as a head coach. Go ahead,
you have to, and Shane Waldron just has not worked out. Seahawks fans apparently told Bears fans about it, and now Bears fans are crying about it. And what do you do now? You have to fix it, but something's off. There's too much talent, Derek. There's too many guys on this offense that, well, you can't get nobody the ball.
Before Derek says anything, I want to say this on that Colts game. I spit out the water that I was drinking when I saw, what was it, on the goal line, 4th and 1, and they run a pitch play to DeAndre Swift. You pitch it back 2 or 3 yards to DeAndre Swift. I'm like, you never on goal, 4th and 1.
Rudy, you funny because I'm sitting here looking at the game with my woman, and when they, I'm over there saying quarterback sneak.
Or you just pounded straight through the
I actually said tush push.
Yes.
And when they handed the ball, I was like, oh boy, we know what's going to happen after that. Hey, Gio, but for Caleb, is it really the plays or is it a combination of both? Because Caleb has had some opportunities where he's overthrown guys by like 15 yards.
He's also not playing very well. He's being rattled easily, and he's not making certain throws that he should be making. It's a combination of both, Derek. He's not playing well, and the offensive play calls. I thought that Texas game, Rudy, I thought he was getting things going.
Yeah.
But they can't run the ball, and Caleb he seems like he's like your leading rusher, it seems like these days. That's not going to work. It's a disaster. And I love Swift. He's a former Dog, but man, he is looking not good so far. Not a good pickup so far. I don't know where they go from here, but you better figure it out because Rudy, if they don't, I could see the coach get fired easily. And he's on his last legs.
Not making it through the year?
If they keep it up, no. There's just no way.
They're going to try to salvage this year.
You know who I know?
With you.
You know who they need to hire? Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from the Lions. I think that would be a perfect hire for we've seen what he's done with Jared Goff and that offense in Detroit. I'm saying, Derek, this would be a great hire.
Who are the two? There's two coaches that just recently said they want to coach again. I know Belichick is one of them.
No, keep Belichick away from Caleb Williams.
There's another coach. I can't think of the name offhand, but it's two coaches. Belichick is one of them. It was just yesterday.
I know that
for next year. They were saying for 2025, but you know money talks.
Well, yeah, money does talk on that sense.
I know Marvin Lewis said he wants to coach again, but I think that ship has sailed.
That ship has sailed. Marvin, this, if we're being, honest about it, I wouldn't mind, and he's a defensive-minded coach, but I think he's the type of coach, a head coach, that could get through to Caleb. Why? Because he reminds me, and it's just the characteristics, the mannerisms. He reminds me of Phil Jackson. He can kind of get to you and make you a better player. And that's Tony Dungy. I think Tony Dungy, if not a head coach, just a mentor for Caleb Williams, I think you would definitely see a better player with Caleb Williams if he had Tony Dungy in his ear. Not a fiery guy, a player's guy, but a guy who can get through to Caleb Williams. That's the one guy that I would probably point to is Tony Dungy. That's just the guy that I would get to, but nonetheless, we got a couple more minutes left here on Sweep the League. A couple more topics we're going to talk about here before we go. One last topic dealing with football is this right here. Gio, just a quick thought on this, and then we'll go to our last segment here. But a quick thought. Yesterday, I mentioned a trade. Now, we all know Bryce Young has basically said, he wouldn't mind a trade, go to another team, yada, yada. Where I said the perfect trade was this. You send Bryce Young to Jacksonville. You send Trevor Lawrence to Carolina. Now, obviously, some draft picks are going to be in there, but you see what Carolina has done with Andy Dalton, a veteran quarterback with a team that's not, super young. It's got some veterans on there. You see what Dalton does. So you give them a better quarterback than Bryce Young. But with Bryce Young going to Jacksonville, a young team, ETN, Brian Thomas, they're in a rebuild. I think it makes a whole lot of sense for them to make that deal. Thoughts on that real quick?
I think there's still talent. Trevor Lawrence obviously hasn't played well. And Dougie P, he didn't construct this team. Something's off. Right? They look terrible against the Bills. I mean, it was an annihilation. But I think Trevor Lawrence is still a good player. They got to fix the offensive line, to me, has not been good while he's been there. They're leaky. They're inconsistent. They can't really run block either, if you really notice, at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So they made the playoffs that one year. I was very surprised. But no, Rudy, I'm keeping Trevor Lawrence. You just paid him, Rudy. Now, if you're the Panthers, sure, I would probably do it. But if you're the Jags, it's too early. We saw, what was it, not too long ago, Denver get beat by what? 70 points? I mean,
yeah.
You get bad games a lot in this league. Yeah, the Jags have had a stretch, but I think the Jags will be okay. But their defense
Trevor's not happy with Peterson. That's the key. Are you going to get rid of Peterson? Do we know that for sure,
though?
I mean, just look at his sideline attitude this past weekend in Buffalo. I mean, have you ever seen Trevor Lawrence walk away being pissed off, just not having anything to do with Doug Peterson? I mean, I've never seen him act like that, not even in college.
I still respect Dougie P a lot. I think they can get things moving, but they guys just start by just running the ball consistently. Protecting the quarterback.
And Gio, is Bryce even an NFL quarterback? Is Bryce going? He's a small. He's Doug Flutie size. I mean, is he even a guy that's going to end up being a starting quarterback 2 years from now?
I think he still can be.
Maybe.
You do?
I think, Derek. I just think the organization has been a mess in Carolina. They've had coaches in and out the door, players. It just hasn't been good. And right now you've seen it. Now, look, Andy Dalton's a veteran, right? Is Andy Dalton going to do this every game? Highly unlikely.
No.
Highly.
Why? Carolina's probably going to win this weekend. Dalton on the revenge tour against Cincinnati. He would love to put them at 0-4.
My AFC pick is not looking very good right now.
Cincinnati must win that game. We talked about.
I told Rudy though, could Taylor be on the hot seat if they miss the playoffs? And we talked about this.
He's on the hot seat now. Forget the playoffs, man. He needs to get a win.
He needs to get a win. The defense looked slow. Now, granted, Jalen Daniels is a talent, and he has been as advertised as I thought he would be. I thought he was coming out. He can run, right? Caleb is not a runner. This guy can run with a purpose. Caleb is just running for his life because of the offensive line so bad. But I think there's something there. You just got to give him a better team. Give him a better system. Not Pittsburgh, because they don't develop quarterbacks there, but
they're still 3-0.
Pittsburgh. Are you guys? I
don't know how that's kind of mind-boggling to me.
Pittsburgh. Why is there? Now tell me this: the Steelers 3-0. I understand that, but is it a convincing 3-0? Because
no.
What's his name? Fields is averaging 173 yards, I think, passing a game. And he's got 2 passing touchdowns and 1 running touchdown in 3 games. Is he the answer, or are they just waiting? It seems like Tomlin hasn't committed to him, not publicly. So is he just waiting on Russ to get back healthy, and then he inserts Russ back into the starting lineup?
That's a good question.
Know what to expect there?
I mean, if you're looking at it, if you're winning, why change anything? I mean, you're 3-0, even though you haven't really looked great. Why would you change anything if you're 3-0? So I say no. I say, man, I say you just stick with Justin Fields.
3-0 could easily turn into 3-3 when you're not really getting the offensive production. They've been kind of fortunate. The defense has stepped up, but it's not like he's been killing them, man. 2 passing touchdowns in 3 games. Justin Fields, he's managing the game. But don't you think they want to go up and down the field, have a few more options with Russ? And then if it doesn't work, then you go back to Justin Fields. So that's why I asked you guys, because I'm just trying to figure out, because if you sit Justin down and bring Russ in, can you go back to Justin Fields if it doesn't work out with Russ?
Well, here's the question. I guess the best question to pose. Are you rocking with Russell Wilson for the next couple of years, or is Justin that guy? If Justin's that guy, then Russ needs to take a backseat. And you
so why bring Russ in, though? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Denver debacle. I mean, he didn't play that bad in Denver.
He actually had a good. If you look at the numbers, Derek, the man had actually pretty good year, Rudy, with a bunch of dinks and dunks. But
I only asked. So why? I'm just saying, because Mike Tom usually. It's good for your psyche when a guy knows, especially a young quarterback, that you're his guy. Why hasn't Mike Tomlin, he's still on the fence. He hasn't come out and just said, Justin's our guy. So that tells me that he's still not very confident in Justin Fields. They've been fortunate to be 3-0, but I'm just figuring out if he goes to Russ, how would that affect Justin Fields' confidence?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, it shouldn't affect him too much. I mean, I'm sorry, it will affect him a lot. You're talking like, well, I'm 3-0 with the team, and you want to bench me for Russ Wilson, who hasn't played.
Is he hurt for real? Because when I see him on the sidelines, it's kind of a weird feeling. He's out there holding a clipboard. He's chewing his gum. It's weird to me. I don't know.
I think Russ is insurance.
He doesn't look disgruntled, Gio. That's why I said that I think that he was really hurt. He's not over there pouting like he's been benched. He's looking confident, like he believes that he's going to really get an opportunity to play. I've been looking at his body language, and he doesn't look like a guy that feels he's going to be carrying the clipboard for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We got one more segment here. And Gio, it's a new segment that we launched recently. It's called the Caught Off Guard segment. Let's get to it real quick. All right, our Caught Off Guard segment today is going to be WNBA news that just came out recently. Today, Chicago Sky have fired head coach Teresa Withers.
I told you.
Hiring her, Annie Castalvi. So, are we caught off guard by this? Derek wasn't caught off guard by this. I am a little bit because, again, first-year head coach, one of the all-time WNBA players. There just wasn't a lot of chemistry anywhere on this team. Derek, your thoughts on the Teresa Witherspoon?
I wish her well on her next endeavor, but this is no surprise to me whatsoever. I didn't like the way they looked as a team, and the main reason was because she didn't reel the players in. She let Angel. I think when it really cemented it was when the game they were losing by 25.
Yeah,
and she let Angel stay on the floor so she could get her double-double.
Yeah,
that's not the way you bring a team together. And I think they looked at it. They sat back and looked at everything over the course of the year, and they could have done a lot more with Cardoso. I know she was injured early in the year, but the fact that they wouldn't use her more on the low post, she's their best offensive option around the basket. And we know Angel's not that gifted offensively. And I just think, and then you got the behavior you have to factor in. Angel and Trinity Carter. You got to factor that in as well. And it's like Teresa didn't get a grip on her team, and she's paying for it. And I think sometimes it just doesn't work. And I think that they want to move forward next year. And they didn't like the way the season ended. And they basically, at the end of the year, they were like the Philadelphia Eagles of last year. They just basically just folded at the end of the year, the second half of the season. And I think that's why they got rid of her.
Are we expecting a Dawn Staley rumor to come out here pretty soon? I mean, we mentioned it the other day that Dawn is probably the name on top of a lot of teams' list right now. So, I mean, if she was to go to Chicago and leave South Carolina, it's not a bad team to start with. Definitely not. But I mean, we got to figure who's going to be the next coach. Now, you mentioned the Indiana Fever head coach. Is she next? We can probably get that here pretty soon. But yeah, that's our caught off guard segment for today. Was Teresa Witherspoon. Tomorrow we'll come back. We'll do our NFL picks. We'll get some NCAA picks. We'll pick the top 25 games. Of course, I know Gio's taking Duke this weekend because he's a huge Duke football fan. No, he's not. And then I'm going to be taking North Carolina this weekend. Duke and North Carolina play the Carlisle Cup this weekend. So we're going to see how that goes. I already know it's not going to be like 70-50. It's not going to have no James Madison magic to it, and not this weekend. But tomorrow we'll get our NFL picks in. We'll also talk to Derek about Devin Vassell. That was the topic of Locked On Spurs today. So we'll talk a little bit about Devin Vassell, and also if we might have a special guest tomorrow. We're about 90% sure confirmed on it, so we'll see if we have a special guest. If we do, we might go a little bit longer. So just an FYI, keep up with y'all's notifications. Be sure to go to our YouTube page, search at Sweep the League TV. Be a subscriber. So that's what our Friday's going to look like. Just nothing but picks coming in. But
yeah, I'm gonna say 99.9%, and I'm gonna make sure it happens because he gave me his word. And I've been knowing him for a while, and I think it'll be that he's going to keep his word.
I'll just say the kiss of death is what we're expecting.
We'll leave it at that.
He's going to throw it towards Gio at the Georgia and Bama game. That's for sure.
Hey, Rudy, before we get off, the suggestion for the Chicago Sky. What would you guys think about this name? What's the lady's name? The superstar that used to play for the Houston Comets? Not Cheryl Swoops.
Cynthia Cooper.
Hey, Cynthia, where are you?
That wouldn't be bad. Cynthia Cooper.
I want to say one thing.
All right.
Shout out to Caitlin Clark for making first team All NBA. I thought it was. I'm a little surprised she made it over Sabrina, but I mean.
Well, Sabrina made it as well. She made it over Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah,
that's Thomas.
Second team, I believe. But kudos to her. She also broke the assist record for an entire season, which is crazy to think. She got to stop the turnovers, but I think that will come with time because they definitely played better towards the end of the year. That break she got from the Olympics was actually much needed and put up a good fight against the team last night, which I forgot who they were.
Connecticut.
Kelsey Mitchell didn't show up like she had in the past. And then you remember that she made that pass at the end of the game when she jumped up. She actually had a drive to the basket, and she jumped up and threw the ball almost into the back court. That was the game right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk more some WNBA because the playoffs are actually starting. And as we leave the show here, the Giants, I think, are about to lose. They're down 20-15 to the Giants, to the Cowboys. Come on, Daniel. You should have made me look a little bit better here with a touchdown pass, but he didn't get no touchdown pass. So for Coach Gio, for Hall of Famer Derek Gervin, we'll be back tomorrow, guys. This show will be rebroadcast in the morning for y'all to take a look at. But nonetheless, we appreciate y'all for joining us here on Sweep the League. Until we sweep the league again tomorrow, we'll see you later, Knuckleheads.
Everybody have a good night.